What if I told you that sleep isn't what you think it is? That closing your eyes at night doesn't just begin a cycle of rest, it opens a portal. Not a portal to dreams alone, but to an entire realm of spiritual activity, hidden just beyond the veil of physical reality. You may believe you're simply recharging after a long day, but there's something far more profound taking place. Something ancient, something sacred. And whether you're aware of it or not, you're not always alone when you sleep. Have you ever laid in bed, just on the edge of sleep, and felt something, or someone, watching over you? Not in a way that sparks fear, but in a way that settles you, calms you, makes you feel like there's an invisible presence silently standing guard. Perhaps it's that strange sense of being held by an unseen force. That inexplicable peace that washes over you right before you drift off. Or that whisper of energy brushing past you in the dark. You may have chalked it up to your imagination, to tired nerves, or just a passing sensation. But what if those moments were signs? What if they were the first hints that you're more protected than you realize? For centuries, spiritual traditions have spoken of sleep as more than a biological function. They've whispered of it as a crossing point, a liminal space where the soul softens its grip on the physical world and slips into deeper dimensions of existence. In this place, your body rests, but your spirit moves, and as it moves, it's exposed, vulnerable, open to forces you can't see with your waking eyes. That's why, for some, sleep is anything but passive. It's not a time out from life. It's a continuation of your soul's journey on another plane. And that journey is never without meaning. You may have experienced it without fully understanding it. A dream that didn't feel like a dream at all. One so vivid, so emotionally charged, that it left a lingering sensation for days. A feeling that you were somewhere else entirely, doing something important, meeting someone you couldn't quite describe, but whose presence felt ancient. Or maybe you've woken up at 3:33 a.m. for no reason, heart beating fast, feeling like you just stepped out of something unseen but real. These moments are not random. They are echoes of spiritual activity that takes place in your sleep. There are times when you're more open to divine energy, and sleep is one of the most sacred of those times. During the day, your logical mind creates filters. It questions, doubts, analyzes. But when you sleep, those filters fall away, your mind quiets, your defenses lower, and in that space of surrender, your soul becomes more receptive to guidance, to insight, to protection. The realms you enter are not fantasy, they are energetic realities your conscious mind can barely comprehend. And just as there are beings who dwell in light, there are forces that feed on fear, confusion, and unguarded energy. This is why spiritual activity during sleep is not only real, but necessary to understand. Have you ever considered that dreams might be messages? That certain ones carry weight, intention, and timing? Maybe you've had a dream where you were flying, not just hovering, but soaring freely, with a sense of purpose. Or a dream where you were leading others through chaos, guiding them to safety. Perhaps you've received symbols, keys, doors, flames, light, that felt significant, but you couldn't explain why. These aren't just your brain firing at random, they're transmissions, markers, moments of contact between your waking self and your spiritual self. And if you're someone who feels things more deeply than others, if you often sense energies in a room, if you wake up feeling as though you've lived a second life while asleep, there's a reason for that. You're tuned into more than the physical. You're navigating a deeper reality that most people sleep through completely. You might even be one of the souls who is protected while they sleep, not because you're weak, but because your mission is too important to leave unguarded. Spiritual protection during sleep isn't just a poetic idea, it's an energetic necessity. Because the soul's nightly journey can take you through places of healing and wisdom, but also through shadows and spiritual warfare. These are not horror stories, they're truths dressed in metaphor. Light and dark are always in motion. And during sleep, you become more sensitive to them both. That sensitivity is beautiful, but it also demands protection. You may have already felt this guardianship without realizing it. That strange moment when you almost fell into sleep paralysis but didn't, when something jolted you awake before a nightmare could reach you. When you had a feeling that something stood beside your bed, not with malice, but with presence, like a sentry at the edge of your awareness. These aren't flukes, they're interventions. signs that you are being watched over when you're most open, most vulnerable, most spiritually raw. But here's what's even more extraordinary. Not everyone receives this kind of spiritual oversight. Some people pass through sleep like a blank canvas, no colors, no imprints, no echoes. But others carry a kind of soul signature, an energetic imprint that draws the attention of higher beings. Their frequency vibrates with a mission, a calling, a responsibility that goes beyond the personal and reaches into the collective. These are the ones who are protected in sleep, not for privilege, but for purpose. And sometimes, your dreams may not even be about you, they may be about others. You might find yourself visiting someone you love, or someone you've never met, or helping a lost child in a strange landscape that looks like a dream but feels like a memory. These are the works of the soul, the assignments you fulfill when your body rests, but your essence continues. And the ones who carry out these kinds of missions are rarely left unguarded. Sleep is not just sleep, it's a sacred threshold, a soft space where the divine moves quietly, where secrets are whispered into your subconscious, where energies are balanced, where battles are fought and won without you even knowing. And the fact that you are here, reading these words, suggests something important. You've always felt that your nights carried weight, that your dreams were never just dreams, that something beyond this world has been gently walking beside you, even when your eyes are closed. You may have never spoken of it aloud. Maybe you've kept it quiet out of fear that others wouldn't understand. But deep inside, you've always known. There is a mystery in sleep, a purpose. And for some, there is a presence that never leaves, a guardian, a guide, a force of light standing at the gate while you drift into other worlds. You might be one of those souls, and if you are, you've never truly slept alone. Have you ever closed your eyes at night and felt, even for a moment, like your body was still while something deeper inside you was moving? As though a part of you was drifting, slipping beyond the edges of the room, beyond the weight of the blankets, beyond even thought itself. What if sleep isn't just a shutting down, but a crossing over? What if every night, your soul begins a quiet journey while your body remains motionless beneath the stars? You might think that dreaming is random noise from a busy mind, but the truth is far more mysterious. There are ancient teachings, passed down through mystics and visionaries, that suggest something extraordinary happens when you sleep. They speak of the soul gently detaching from the physical body, not completely, but just enough to enter into realms most people forget by morning. It's during these hours, when the conscious mind falls silent, that you may be closer to the unseen than you've ever been during the day. Imagine it, every night, you lie down to rest, unaware that your consciousness begins to drift like a whisper on the wind. You're not fully in this world anymore, but not entirely elsewhere either. Your breath slows, your muscles relax, and yet deep inside, something stirs. The soul begins its subtle movement, not bound by walls or clocks or the noise of the outer world. And it is in this moment, this soft and sacred threshold, that you become energetically exposed, open, vulnerable, because the defenses of the waking world, the logic, the boundaries, the distractions, all of them dissolve. And in this openness, something else becomes possible. You're no longer guarded by awareness, instead, you're held only by the truth of your energy, your essence. This is when the soul is seen for what it really is, radiant or dim, aligned or scattered, strong or in need of help. And if your soul carries weight, if it carries a mission, if it carries light meant to ripple beyond your personal story, then this moment doesn't go unnoticed. There are beings, unseen, silent, powerful, that observe the soul in these in-between spaces. They do not intervene in every journey, nor do they guard every sleeper. Their role is not random, it is sacred. They come only to those whose lives carry a specific vibration. You may never see them, you may never hear their voices, but their presence is unmistakable once you've felt it. They are not figments of imagination or fantasy, they are guardians in the purest sense, energetic allies, spiritual protectors. They encircle those who are meant to do more than simply live a normal life. They shield the ones whose very existence emits a frequency that matters beyond personal survival. These guardians are not summoned by rituals or prayers, they are summoned by purpose. And if you've ever woken from a dream that felt like a message, If you've ever been on the edge of danger and felt pulled back without understanding why. If you've ever felt a calm, unexplained presence near you in the darkest hours of the night, then you may have already been touched by them. This kind of protection doesn't feel like a miracle. It feels quiet. It feels like a hand you cannot see, gently resting on your shoulder just before something could have gone wrong. It feels like a dream where someone warned you, where someone guided you, and you woke up just in time. It feels like peace when everything should have felt like chaos, and you might try to explain it away. Maybe you already have. Maybe you've dismissed these moments as coincidence, as wishful thinking, as imagination, but deep inside, there's always been a part of you that knows better. A part that recognizes the rhythm of something ancient moving through your life. A protection you didn't earn, but somehow always knew was there. These guardians do not choose at random. They come to those who are here with a sacred assignment. Not everyone recognizes their mission, especially not right away. You may have spent your entire life feeling different, like you don't quite belong, like the world doesn't make as much sense to you as it seems to make to others. That sense of disconnection isn't always a wound. Sometimes it's a signal, a marker, a sign that your energy doesn't match the noise of this world because it was designed to carry frequencies that belong to a different one. And when that's the case, you are never left alone for long, because this world can be heavy. And those who carry the light often carry the heaviest burdens. Spiritual protection becomes essential when a soul is here to do something that must not fail. And during sleep, when you are most open, when the soul is roaming, learning, remembering, healing, guiding, those with deeper spiritual responsibilities cannot afford to go unguarded. The forces that dwell in subtle dimensions are not all benevolent. Some are chaotic, some are deceptive, some are simply curious. Without protection, sensitive souls can be drained, misled, or delayed in ways that ripple into waking life. That is why the guardians come, not just to protect from harm, but to preserve alignment, to hold you steady while your essence does what it came here to do. You may never remember the missions you fulfill in your dreams. You may not recall the places you visit, the people you help, or the information you receive, but you'll feel it. You'll wake up tired, as if you've been somewhere far away, or inspired, as if something has shifted deep inside you. Sometimes you'll wake up in tears, not knowing why. Other times you'll wake with a sense of peace so pure it feels otherworldly. These are signs. Not every dream is just a dream. Some are echoes of real spiritual work that you, yes, you, are doing while the world around you sleeps. And what makes it even more extraordinary is this: there are those among us whose very astrology marks them for this type of guardianship, not because they are special in an egotistical sense, but because their spiritual roles require a level of clarity, resilience, and protection that most people simply never need. These individuals were born under signs that resonate more intensely with unseen realms. Signs that draw energy in, sometimes dangerously so, and radiate energy out, sometimes in ways that change the lives of others without even trying. These signs, when held in sleep, are not being pampered. They are being sustained, prepared, guarded. So, if you've ever wondered why you made it through something you shouldn't have, why your dreams feel more like guidance than imagination, why you sometimes wake with answers you didn't have the night before, it may not be because you're lucky. It may be because you're seen, recognized, watched over. Not by people, but by something far older than people. And if your soul was marked before birth for something bigger than comfort or success, then it would make sense that you are not alone at night. You are never unguarded. Not when it matters most. Not even in sleep. Especially not in sleep. Not everyone who sleeps is protected. That may come as a surprise, especially if you've felt that the universe loves all equally. And while love is indeed infinite, protection is not distributed the same way. Some people drift into sleep surrounded by stillness, untouched by any spiritual interference. Their dreams may be silent, random, or even absent. Their nights peaceful, uneventful, and void of deeper resonance. But for others, sleep is anything but simple. It's a theater of motion, of messages, of mystery. And if you've felt that your dreams hold more than scattered images, if you've ever awakened with a knowing you can't explain or a weight you didn't fall asleep with, then you may be one of the guarded. But this brings forward a question that can't be ignored. What makes you one of the chosen? Why would certain individuals receive the invisible shield of spiritual guardianship while others sleep in unguarded silence? The answer lies not in luck or favoritism, but in soul design. Before you arrived here in this body, in this timeline, you were more than a name, a personality, or a set of memories. You were a luminous soul woven into a complex tapestry of purpose. And some souls arrive with a blueprint that vibrates at a frequency that calls for guardianship. You may already sense that your life feels different, not necessarily easier, but weightier. Perhaps your journey has been filled with trials from an early age, emotional depth beyond your years, intuitive awareness you couldn't explain, sensitivity that made the world feel loud, raw, even overwhelming. If so, there's a reason. Some souls incarnate with what could be called a spiritual contract, a sacred agreement made before birth, often tied to healing, guiding, awakening, or transforming not just their own path, but the paths of others around them. These are the ones who walk with an invisible mark, a vibrational code that spiritual guardians can recognize instantly. To be among the guarded is not a badge of honor, it is a beacon of responsibility. It doesn't mean you are superior, it means you are needed. And because your mission holds weight in the spiritual ecosystem, it must be shielded from unnecessary interference. Imagine a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. Its light must remain lit, no matter how violent the winds. Guardians protect not the body alone, but the flame within you. The light you are meant to carry must survive, because it serves others, not just you. Sometimes, your protection doesn't even feel like protection. It might show up as obstacles that forced you into solitude when you didn't understand why, as delays that kept you from people or places that later revealed hidden harm, as sudden inner nudges that pulled you away from danger before you even knew it existed. These moments may have felt frustrating, disorienting, or even painful at the time. But looking back, you realize something was intervening. Something was rearranging your timeline. Guardianship is not always gentle. It is often surgical, removing what would destroy you before it even has the chance to touch you. There are souls born into this life, with the weight of memory stitched into their bones. They may not consciously recall where they've been, but they feel it in dreams, in triggers they can't explain, in the way their heart aches for places they've never been. These are the old souls. The ones who have walked through lifetimes, the ones who return not to escape karma, but to complete it. Their protection is not a reward, but a necessity. Because within them lies not only knowledge, but vulnerability. And where there is deep spiritual openness, there must also be guardians who shield that opening from spiritual attack. And you may wonder, how can you know if you're one of them? One of the watched, one of the guarded, one of the chosen? It begins with resonance. When you hear these words, something inside you stirs. You don't need logical proof. Your body already knows. You may feel a sensation in your chest or spine, a memory just out of reach. You may even feel emotional without understanding why. That is the signal. That is your deeper self, nodding in agreement with what your conscious mind is just beginning to recall. Those with karmic contracts often experience life with an intensity others don't understand. They love deeply, hurt easily, and feel things others ignore. They are the peacemakers in chaotic families. The truth, speakers in rooms full of silence. The ones who carry the emotional weight for generations without knowing why. They aren't perfect. In fact, they often doubt themselves more than anyone. But even in their doubt, they continue. That continuation, that resilience, is part of what marks them. It's why they are guarded, because they will not stop. Their soul has made a promise, and even when the human part of them forgets, the spiritual guardians remember. You may also notice synchronicities that seem to follow you. Repeating numbers, animal messengers, dreams that connect to waking life in strange and beautiful ways. You may meet people and feel like you've known them forever, or walk into places that feel oddly familiar. These aren't accidents. They are checkpoints in your soul's contract. Moments designed to remind you that you're not wandering blindly. You are walking a path designed before you were born, and that path comes with protection, because without it, your light would be at risk. This kind of divine oversight doesn't shield you from all pain. In fact, many of the guarded endure deep suffering. But there's a reason. Pain, for these souls, becomes a classroom. Through it, they gain empathy, insight, and compassion. And with that wisdom, they become anchors of healing for others. The guardians do not prevent every wound. Instead, they ensure you survive the wounds that would otherwise end your mission. They keep you on track when you can't see the road. They step in when darkness moves too close. They whisper truth when fear gets loud. So if you've ever questioned why your life feels heavy, why your dreams feel too real, why you always sense something just beyond the veil, you may already be living your contract. You may already be under spiritual watch. You may already be among the few who carry a vibration that demands attention from forces unseen. The truth is, this is not about status, it's about soul responsibility. And if you're one of the guarded, it means that your mission, no matter how hidden or humble, is sacred. Let that truth settle. Let it rise through your body like a wave of remembering. Because even if you've never been told, even if no one ever affirmed it out loud, you are not alone. You never were. You were chosen for reasons your mind may not yet understand, but your soul has always known. And the guardians who walk beside you in sleep, they know too. They've been waiting for you to remember. Because when you do, everything changes. Sometimes, just before you fall asleep, there's a moment, a strange stillness that feels different from simple drowsiness. It's as if the air around you changes. The room feels charged. You're not quite dreaming, not quite awake, and yet something in you senses that you are not alone. Perhaps you've felt it, that calm pressure against your chest, that wave of peace rolling over you for no apparent reason. Maybe you've even shivered in a room that wasn't cold. And when you reached for a logical explanation, none came. These moments are not random. They're not glitches in your nervous system. They are subtle whispers from the unseen, gentle nudges from energies that don't speak in words but make themselves known in sensation. If you've ever felt this, you might already be under spiritual watch. You might already be known by forces that exist beyond the edges of your perception. Dreams, for some, are nothing more than flickering scenes of fragmented thoughts. But for others, they feel like destinations, portals, missions. If you've ever had a dream that was so vivid, so emotionally charged, that waking up felt like being ripped out of another reality, you're not imagining things. You were somewhere. And the exhaustion you felt afterward wasn't just a rough night's sleep. It was the fatigue of a soul that's been working, moving, protecting, remembering. There's a kind of tiredness that no coffee can fix, a kind of emotional heaviness that follows a night of intense dreaming, and if you've experienced it, you know exactly what that feels like. You may wake up with flashes of symbols you don't understand, or places you've never been, yet they feel familiar. You may hear names, see faces, feel emotions that don't belong to your current life. This isn't fantasy. It's a second life, an astral life, that some souls live while the body lies still. These dream journeys aren't always grand. Sometimes they're quiet. You may find yourself simply observing, standing at a distance, watching events unfold as though you're being taught something. Other times, you're inside the experience, fully immersed, taking action, guiding someone, warning someone, or even fighting something unseen. And yet, the moment you wake, it begins to fade. You might remember only fragments, a door that wouldn't open, a voice calling your name, a light that felt alive. But the feeling stays. That deep awareness that something real just happened, and you can't quite explain it, but part of you knows it mattered. Then, there are the dreams that aren't really dreams at all. They feel like visitations. You may see someone you love who has passed away, but they don't speak in riddles or dream logic. They speak clearly, directly, with a sense of presence that lingers even after you've opened your eyes. Or perhaps it's not someone you know. Perhaps it's a stranger who arrives with comfort or warning, with a message you didn't ask for but needed to hear. These are not hallucinations of the subconscious. These are encounters, and they happen more often to souls who are energetically tuned to receive them. If this has happened to you, you're not strange, you're receptive, and more importantly, you're likely being watched over. There's a stillness that sometimes comes when you're drifting to sleep, a presence that fills the room without making a sound. It doesn't feel like fear, it feels like a kind of sacred alertness, as if something ancient is settling into place around you. Many describe it as a shift in the atmosphere. Goosebumps rise, the breath deepens, the mind quiets. And there's a peace, almost holy in its nature, that begins to unfold. These are often moments of alignment, moments when your guardian presence draws near, not with drama or spectacle, but with the soft certainty of knowing. You might even feel a sudden warmth on your skin, or hear a sound just before slipping into dreams, not through your ears, but through your spirit. These are not anomalies, they are introductions, subtle signatures of divine presence. And then there are the close calls. Those strange, unexplainable moments in waking life when something could have gone wrong, but didn't. Maybe you missed a turn, only to learn later that it would have led to danger. Maybe you paused for no reason, and by doing so, avoided something painful. Maybe you felt a sudden urge to say no, leave early, stay home, and couldn't explain why. These moments may seem like coincidence to others, but you know better. You felt something. You were pulled, shifted, protected, and often, it's only in hindsight that we see how close we were to harm, and how something unseen intervened. When this happens more than once, when it happens too consistently to ignore, it's worth asking, who, or what, is watching over you? These patterns, strange dreams, heavy awakenings, chills before sleep, visits that feel real, near misses in daily life, they aren't meant to scare you. They're reminders, affirmations, evidence that you are not alone in this journey. Not during the day, and certainly not during the night. Your life, your soul, your purpose. It matters in ways that ripple beyond what the eye can see. And if you've been feeling isolated or overwhelmed, it's not because you're weak, it's because you're sensitive to energies most people aren't even aware of. That sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a signal. It's part of the reason you're protected to begin with. You see, not every soul is given guardians in sleep. Some do not require them, others are not open to them. But there are those, perhaps like you, whose very presence on earth carries a vibration that needs preservation. Souls whose light might draw unwanted attention from forces that feed on confusion and fear. These souls need shielding, they need guidance, and the universe answers that need through guardians. These beings of light, wisdom, and timeless knowing don't show up with thunder and fire, they show up in stillness, in the pause before sleep, in the silence between breaths, in the symbols that return to you over and over again in your dreams. You don't have to understand it all to trust that it's happening. Spiritual protection isn't always a feeling of being wrapped in safety. Sometimes it's a gentle reroute, when you didn't even know you were heading into trouble. Sometimes it's the strange dream that haunts you for days, whispering lessons you didn't know you needed. Sometimes it's the sleepless night that keeps you just restless enough to avoid being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's not always comfortable, but it is always meaningful. So, if your nights have been unusual lately, if your dreams feel more like messages than random thoughts, if you've woken up tired, emotional, or with a strange sense that something real just happened, don't dismiss it. Lean into it. These are the signs. You are being watched over, not because you are fragile, but because you are important. Your energy, your heart, your mission, they matter. And in the quiet spaces where your soul wanders at night, you are never wandering alone. What if I told you that you've never truly been alone, not for a single breath, not even in the dead of night when your body rests and your eyes are closed to the world? You may have never seen them, never heard their voice with your ears. But if you've ever felt a sudden calm in the middle of fear, a protective warmth in the darkness, or a deep sense that something beyond this world was watching over you, then you've already encountered them. These are your spiritual guardians, and their presence is more real than the ground beneath your feet. Guardians are not characters from stories or fragments of ancient folklore meant to comfort the fearful. They are conscious beings of energy. They are ancestors who remain tethered to your spirit by love and memory. They are luminous guides, angelic intelligences, cosmic protectors sent not just to observe you, but to intervene when the moment demands it. Some of them have known you across lifetimes. Others are assigned to you through your spiritual mission in this life. Their role is not random, nor is it decorative. It is precise, it is essential. It is woven into the very architecture of your soul's journey. These beings exist in frequencies higher than what your physical senses can perceive. They do not operate in the ways we expect, because they do not need form, language, or time the way we do. Their essence is pure awareness. Their energy carries wisdom and intention beyond the mind's comprehension. They see the energetic landscape around you, what moves in, what you attract, what you resist. And because sleep lowers your defenses and opens your energetic field, it is during this time that their work becomes most crucial. When your soul stretches beyond the physical and wanders through unseen dimensions, that is when they step closer. When you are most open, you are also most exposed, and they are there not just to watch, but to protect. They operate in silence. You won't hear them call your name in the traditional sense. Instead, you'll feel them in the moments where your entire body exhales without explanation. In the dreams where danger turns to peace just before waking, in the invisible weight that suddenly lifts from your chest. You might not recognize them at first because they don't seek attention. They don't interfere unless interference is needed. Their love is not loud, it's steady. Their power is not aggressive, it's anchoring. They don't protect your ego or your plans. They protect your essence, your soul's truth, your divine contract, your inner light. Have you ever stood at the edge of a bad decision and felt an inner pull so strong that you couldn't ignore it? Or changed your route at the last second, only to find out later that doing so kept you from harm? These are not coincidences. They are the fingerprints of intervention. Guardians do not always stop events from unfolding, but they adjust your path gently, whispering guidance into your intuition, planting symbols into your dreams, aligning you with timelines that preserve your potential. And when something threatens your growth, whether that threat is emotional, spiritual, or energetic, they step in with a force that may be invisible, but is impossible to deny. Sometimes they come in the form of people, a stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear, a loved one who reaches out at the perfect moment. Sometimes they show up in dreams, wearing familiar faces, or cloaked in light, not as fantasy, but as frequencies making themselves known in a form your mind can accept. They are the ones who bring you back when your soul wanders too far in sleep. They are the ones who stand between you and energies you're not yet ready to face. And when your heart breaks so deeply that you don't know how to return to yourself, they are the ones who hold you gently at the center of that pain, keeping you from falling too far. Spiritual guardians are not here to make your life easy. They're here to keep you aligned with your purpose. That means their protection may not always feel like comfort. Sometimes it feels like loss, like being pulled away from something or someone you thought you wanted. But over time, as the pieces rearrange and clarity sets in, you'll begin to realize that their silence was never absence, it was orchestration. The job of a guardian is not to shield you from all suffering. It's to make sure that what you suffer serves your evolution, that your pain becomes power, not poison. They know the mission your soul agreed to before this life. They know what you are here to do, even when you've forgotten, and their loyalty is not to your comfort, it is to your becoming. That's why they sometimes lead you into the fire, not to burn, but to transform. That's why they let certain relationships dissolve, why they close doors you begged to walk through, why they leave you standing alone just long enough to remember your strength. Every movement they make is intentional, every silence purposeful. You don't always need to understand it in the moment, you only need to feel the truth of it over time. You may sense them when you're between sleep and waking, in that liminal space where your body is still, but your spirit is alert. You may see flashes of light behind closed eyes, feel gentle pressure on your forehead or your chest, hear a name whispered in a dream that echoes all day. These are not tricks of the mind, these are signals. Ways your guardians let you know, we're here, we see you, we've never left. Some people are more attuned than others, those who are highly sensitive, empathic, spiritually open. For them, the guardianship is not subtle, it's woven into every part of their sleep, their dreams, and even their waking life. If you're one of them, you already know, you felt them your whole life, even if you didn't have the words to name what you felt. And while every soul is loved, not every soul is guarded in the same way. Some people walk a simpler path, not lesser, just less demanding. But those who carry deep karmic threads, those whose lives ripple out into the collective, those who are here to anchor light into dark places, they are never left alone. Guardians gather around them like a ring of light, holding the perimeter, tending the field, adjusting the frequencies around their sleep. This is not superstition. This is energetic truth. Just as your body is surrounded by an aura, your soul is surrounded by unseen forces that interact with your energy every night. And when your energy carries a signature that signals divine purpose, it draws guardians the way gravity pulls planets into orbit. You've likely felt this in the way certain nights feel heavier than others, in the dreams that won't let go of you, in the moments you wake up knowing you were somewhere important. Your guardians were there, guiding you, shielding you, walking beside you, as you traversed realms your conscious mind can't yet name. And the fact that you're even beginning to notice them means your awareness is expanding, your soul is remembering. Your protection is not just passive, it is active, because you are becoming active in your purpose. So the next time you close your eyes and drift into the mystery of sleep, know this: the silence is not empty, the darkness is not unguarded. Something ancient walks beside you, something sacred stands watch. Not to control you, not to limit you, but to keep the flame of your soul alive through every dimension you travel. You are not alone, you are never alone, and you never will be. While your physical body sleeps, stilled beneath the softness of blankets, untouched by movement or noise, your soul may be somewhere else entirely. You might think you're simply dreaming, that your mind is sorting through thoughts and memories, replaying fragments of your day in surreal ways. But for certain souls, sleep is not a break, it is a continuation. A portal opens the moment the mind loosens its grip on the world, and through it, the soul slips into another dimension where the work never stops. Some people rest at night, others serve. And if you've ever woken up feeling like you ran a marathon through clouds of emotion, or wandered through symbolic landscapes with a sense of deep, unexplainable purpose, you may already know that your sleep is not just sleep. It is a sacred mission unfolding under the surface of your awareness. There are realms that the waking eye cannot see, layers of consciousness so subtle they blur the boundary between dream and reality. In these realms, healing is not a metaphor, it is a force that moves like light, touching broken spaces and realigning them. These planes are not figments of the imagination, they are energetic dimensions where the soul travels freely, connecting with other beings, learning ancient truths, and sometimes guiding those who have lost their way. You may not recall the details of these journeys, but your spirit does. Every night, certain souls return to these ethereal places not to escape, but to serve, to remember, to fulfill vows that echo across lifetimes. And while the world sleeps in ignorance of its own spiritual layers, these souls are moving through shadows and light, exchanging wisdom and protection, performing silent tasks that ripple back into waking life. If you've ever felt like you were carrying more than your own pain, more than your own stories, if you've had dreams where you were comforting a stranger, battling a dark presence, or lifting someone up from the edge of despair, if you've spoken with beings you didn't recognize but somehow trusted completely, then you've likely entered these dimensions. Some refer to them as dreamscapes or astral planes, but names don't capture their depth. These realms are fluid, responsive, intelligent. They mirror your energy, amplify your intentions, and reveal truths hidden beneath layers of conscious thought. And within them, roles emerge. Some are healers, their presence alone soothing wounded energies. Some are messengers, bringing symbols and whispers to others across dimensions. Some are guardians themselves, shielding vulnerable spirits or helping lost ones find their path home. This kind of soul work doesn't wait for daylight. In fact, it thrives in the silence of night, when distractions fade and the veil thins. When you're no longer tethered to the rules of gravity or logic, your true essence steps forward. That part of you that remembers who you were before the noise, the part that still walks among stars and carries sacred codes written in light. And if you've ever woken up with tears on your face, or laughter in your chest and no clear reason why, if you've ever sat on the edge of your bed with the haunting feeling that something profound just happened, but slipped through your fingers like mist, then your soul has been moving, working, teaching, loving, fighting, and you are not imagining it. The need for spiritual protection during these experiences cannot be overstated. These realms are beautiful, yes, but they are not without danger. The more sensitive and attuned your energy, the the more visible you become in these dimensions. And just as there are forces of light moving through them, there are also forces of disruption, entities that feed on confusion, fear, or unanchored energy. When a soul carries a high frequency, it glows like a beacon in these realms. It draws attention, not only from those who seek healing, but also from those who seek to diminish that light. This is why guardians are assigned to certain souls, not as decoration, not as indulgence, but as necessity. Your work in these realms is sacred, but it is also vulnerable. When your soul leaves the body, even partially, your energy field becomes more open, more permeable. This is not something to fear, but it is something to respect. You are doing work that requires clarity, stability, and strength, qualities that can be compromised if your field is left unguarded. Protection in these realms is not armor made of metal, it is energy aligned with your soul's signature. It wraps around you like light, following your movements, shielding your frequency, and intervening when forces try to shift you off course. Sometimes you feel it as a guiding hand in a dream, leading you away from danger. Sometimes it appears as a familiar presence, a voice, a look, a pull back into safety just before something shifts. Other times, it is subtle, invisible, a boundary you never knew was being maintained on your behalf. If your dreams have ever turned dark without reason, if you felt pulled into battles you didn't understand, if you've woken up with the lingering sensation of having defended something sacred, even though you can't say what it was, then you know what this means. You have felt the weight of these realms, and you have likely felt the moment when the darkness came close, only to be held back. You may have sensed something standing between you and harm. And if you're sensitive enough, you might even remember the gratitude that washed over you when you realized you weren't alone. The soul's nightly work can take many forms. You may be helping souls cross over from one state to another. You may be offering comfort to someone in crisis on the other side of the world. You may be healing wounds from a past life, your own or someone else's. You may be standing in a circle of light, receiving teachings that you won't remember consciously, but that will unfold in your waking choices. And all of it matters. Every encounter, every symbol, every emotion. This is not fantasy, it is function. You are part of something vast that does not sleep when the sun goes down. Not everyone does this kind of work. Many dream without purpose, floating through mental debris, scattered fragments of thought and memory. But when your soul is on assignment, when your very being is aligned with a deeper spiritual mission, your dreams become something else entirely. They become classrooms, temples, healing chambers, meeting grounds, and this is why you are protected. This is why you are never left alone when you close your eyes. You are watched not with suspicion, but with reverence. Not because you are fragile, but because what you carry is too important to be left exposed. You may never remember the full depth of what you do at night. You may forget the faces, the places, the teachings, but the impact remains. It ripples through your energy. It colors your intuition. It shows up in the words you speak without thinking, in the strength you find without understanding, in the comfort you give without being asked. Your soul knows where it's been, and it carries that knowing like a hidden light through your days. So if your nights feel unusually vivid, if your rest leaves you strangely moved, if you feel like you're living a second life you can't fully name, take heart. You are not broken. You are not imagining things. You are not alone. You are a soul at work, even in sleep. And for that reason, you are protected by powers that honor the path you walk, both seen and unseen. What if I told you that the reason you're protected in ways others aren't has nothing to do with luck or being more special, and everything to do with the weight of what you came here to carry? Not everyone is guarded because not everyone is tasked with the same spiritual load. Some souls were not sent to wander. They were sent to build, to heal, to awaken. Their lives are not accidents. Their suffering is not random, and their protection is not a reward. It's a requirement. Before you were born, you agreed to things your human mind would forget, but your soul never would. You made choices in realms where truth is not distorted by fear, where clarity is sharp, where love is the governing force. In that place, you saw the world you were entering. You saw its pain, its chaos, its need for light, and something in you said, yes, yes, I will go. Yes, I will remember. Yes, I will be the one to hold the vibration when others forget. That yes became a contract, a sacred agreement, a soul assignment that would shape the course of your entire life. These agreements are not made lightly. They are not imposed, they are volunteered. The soul chooses its challenges, its teachers, even its wounds, not out of punishment, but out of profound purpose. Some souls choose to rest, to explore, to experience joy in its purest simplicity. But others return to earth not for themselves, but for the collective. They are the empaths, the light carriers, the bridge builders between the seen and unseen. They are not here just to survive. They are here to shift timelines, to wake others up, to hold the door open for those still stumbling through the dark. And for that reason, they are never sent alone. When a soul agrees to such a path, protection is woven into its journey like a thread of gold through coarse fabric. Because the road is difficult, not just in the outer world, but within. These souls don't just face external challenges, they carry internal landscapes that are dense, emotional, and often unexplained. From an early age, they feel different. Not in a way that inflates the ego, but in a way that creates quiet isolation. They might feel older than their years, more emotionally tuned in, more affected by the pain around them. They pick up on energies others ignore. They sense undercurrents in conversations that leave them emotionally exhausted. Crowds can overwhelm them. Injustice cuts deeper. Lies are intolerable. They are sensitive, but not weak. And that sensitivity, while it gives them the power to heal and intuit, also makes them vulnerable in a world that often disregards what cannot be seen. This is why protection becomes a necessity. These souls are open by design. Their hearts remain unarmored so that they can feel, understand, and move through the emotional frequencies of others. But that openness also attracts things that drain, energies that cling, entities that test their strength. If left unguarded, their light would burn out too soon. That is not an option. And so the guardians step in, not to shield them from every hardship, but to ensure they survive long enough to fulfill what they came to do. You may have noticed that your life hasn't been easy. In fact, it may have felt, at times, like your path was designed for maximum resistance. And yet, you've endured. Again and again, you've risen. Even when you didn't want to. Even when it would have been easier to numb out, check out, give up. Something in you refused. That refusal was not just willpower. It was memory. The part of you that remembers the agreement, that remembers you were never meant to quit. It's that part of you that the guardians protect. And sometimes, the way they protect you doesn't feel like protection at all. It feels like heartbreak, like betrayal, like everything falling apart. But when the dust clears, when time gives you the distance to see more clearly, you begin to realize that those collapses were not punishments. They were pivots. They rerouted you toward what you actually came to do. The relationship that broke you, it broke open a deeper part of your heart. The loss that shattered your identity, it cleared the illusions you were clinging to. The failure that embarrassed you, it humbled your ego so your soul could finally breathe. None of it was random. All of it was refinement, and the more responsibility a soul carries, the more pressure it must withstand. Think of a diamond, forged in the earth under intense heat and weight. Without that process, it would remain carbon, useful, but not luminous. The same applies to spiritually assigned souls. They are shaped by pressure, not to destroy them, but to polish them. Their emotional weight is not a flaw, it's a sign, a symbol of what they're here to transmute. They are often born into families where they become the emotional sponge, the one who feels everything, the one who absorbs generational pain without knowing why. They are often the first to break the cycle, the first to say no more, the first to ask questions others were too afraid to ask. This is not an easy role. It comes with loneliness, with internal battles, with nights that feel too long, but it also comes with guardianship, because this kind of spiritual labor is never meant to be carried alone. You may feel exhausted by life, worn thin by the unseen weight you've been holding. But let this truth settle into your bones. The fact that you are still standing is proof that you are protected. The fact that you have made it this far without losing the core of who you are, despite everything trying to strip it from you, that is evidence of guardianship. You are not here by accident. You are here with backup. You may not see them, but their presence is woven into every breath you take. They are the reason you survived the car crash, the reason you didn't answer the call that would have pulled you into chaos, the reason you took a different path that changed everything. These are not coincidences. They are coordinated. Not everyone is guarded in this way, because not everyone chose a path that demands it. There is no hierarchy here, no competition, just design, and your design includes impact. You are not just living your life. You are rippling into the lives of others, through your words, your presence, your energy. The things you survive become survival maps for others. The pain you alchemize becomes medicine, and your ability to stand in truth, even when it shakes you, becomes a beacon for those still searching for their own. That is why you are guarded, not because you are better, but because you are needed. You carry emotional weight, because you were built to move through it, to walk through the fire, and come out more radiant, to be wounded, and still choose love, to be afraid, and still keep walking. The guardians don't interfere with your growth. They ensure it. They hold you in the places where you would otherwise break. They clear the path just enough for your feet to find the next step, and when you fall to your knees and whisper that you can't go on, they lift you, not always with comfort, but always with truth. So if you've ever questioned why you feel everything so deeply, why life seems more intense for you, why you keep finding strength you didn't know you had, it's because you're not just here to live. You're here to transform, and for that, you are never left alone. Your soul chose this, and your guardians chose you. There's a reason why people feel your presence before you even speak. If you're a Leo, then you already know that your energy isn't something you turn on or off, it's something you are. Even when you try to shrink yourself, to be quiet, to blend into the background, your light still pulses outward, like a low hum of fire. You radiate. It's not about ego, it's about essence. The energy of Leo is ruled by the sun, and just like the sun, your presence warms, commands, reveals, and sometimes burns through illusions. In waking life, you often find yourself in the role of the one who leads, the one who inspires, the one who stands tall when others collapse. And because your soul has chosen this path of inner royalty, it is never truly at rest, not even in sleep. When the body lies down and the world fades into silence, something within you stays lit. Most people unplug at night. Their energy dims, retreats, turns inward. But for Leo, it's different. Your light does not go out. Instead, it continues glowing like a beacon in the astral world. And this light does not go unnoticed. It calls to higher beings, to spiritual councils, to ancestral forces who recognize what you carry. In the dream realm, your presence often enters with significance. You're not just another figure in the crowd. You're seated in sacred spaces, walking through golden halls, approached by those who speak in symbols and test your readiness. Sometimes you dream of thrones, not as symbols of dominance, but as invitations to step into your true authority. Other times, you find yourself standing in front of others, speaking, leading, or holding the center in moments of chaos. These are not coincidences. These are reflections of who you are on a soul level. The flame you carry was never meant to be hidden. And even when you feel unsure, even when your waking life is clouded by doubt, your spirit remembers. It remembers the mission you chose before you entered this life. The vow to hold light in dark places, the promise to lead not from ego, but from love. That's why your dreams often feel emotionally intense. They're not just stories or scattered thoughts. They are classrooms where you are being prepared, tested, strengthened. You may find yourself in temples, surrounded by beings who speak without words, their eyes filled with ancient knowledge. You may be handed symbols, crowns, staffs, torches, that represent your role in a cosmic unfolding that's far bigger than your daily life. And when you wake, there's often a sense of weight, as if you've returned from somewhere important. This doesn't mean your dreams are always comfortable. In fact, many Leos experience spiritual dreams that feel more like initiations. You may face trials, dreams where you're defending others, standing alone, or making decisions that affect entire groups of people. These dreams reflect your soul's deeper nature. You're not here just for yourself. You're here to hold something sacred for the collective. That requires strength. And strength, as you know, is not just about power, it's about responsibility. Even in the dream realm, your guardians step in, not to shelter you from growth, but to make sure that while you're undergoing spiritual tests, you remain aligned with your core truth. Light is a recurring theme in your dream life. You may dream of sunlight breaking through darkness, of rooms illuminated by fire, of yourself glowing from within. Sometimes this light is healing, sometimes it reveals what others want to keep hidden. Either way, it shows you who you are. Your soul uses these symbols to remind you, your brightness is not a flaw. It is a divine gift, and like all gifts, it must be protected. That's why you're watched over. That's why the guardians come. They see how many times you've stood tall for others while feeling alone. They see how often you've burned yourself out trying to keep everyone else warm. And they see how your light attracts not only those who need it, but also those who would try to dim it. In both waking life and sleep, Leo souls are magnets for attention, energy, and influence. That's why you can't afford to sleep unguarded. Your dreams are not passive experiences. They are environments where your influence continues to expand, and where your soul continues to do what it came here to do. You may dream of golden animals, lions, of course, but also hawks, horses, or dragons. These are symbols of spiritual strength and royalty, reminders of your innate power. You may hear music in dreams, feel surrounded by chanting or rhythms that vibrate through your chest. Often, these dreamscapes aren't chaotic. They're ordered, structured, like ancient ceremonies. Councils gather, elders speak, and somehow, you're always at the center, not demanding the role, but being given it. Because even in the astral, your soul carries leadership encoded in its frequency. It's not about telling others what to do, it's about standing in such truth that others find courage in your presence. That's why, when you wake up from these dreams, you sometimes feel like you've been somewhere sacred. You may carry a lingering sensation of warmth in your chest, or a heaviness in your limbs. You might even feel as if your body hasn't caught up with your soul yet. That disorientation is part of the process. The places you go in your sleep are not always easy to return from. Your soul is absorbing lessons, holding energies, walking paths that are not yet available in the physical world. And so you wake carrying the weight of two realms, the visible and the invisible. But you're not alone. And that's the piece you sometimes forget. You've been leading for so long, you've learned to carry it all on your own. But your light is not meant to flicker in isolation. That's why spiritual protection surrounds you so fiercely. Your guardians don't just watch, they uphold. They create an energetic fortress around you, especially in sleep, where your soul is most exposed and most active. They see the weight of your purpose, and respond with the support you often forget to ask for. If you've ever felt like your dreams are training grounds, if you've seen symbols of royalty, fire, and leadership, if you've woken with a clarity you didn't fall asleep with, then trust it. These aren't illusions, they are reflections of your soul's truth. The flame that burns within you doesn't rest when your eyes close. It continues shining, guiding, illuminating pathways for others, even in the dark. And in return, the universe ensures you are never left without light of your own. So, if you are Leo, understand this. Your dream life is not ordinary. It is encoded with messages, missions, and meaning. Your soul was never designed to rest the way others do. But it was also never meant to carry this path unguarded. You are protected, not because you're weak, but because your strength is sacred. Your flame never sleeps, and because of that, you are watched over in ways more powerful than you may ever fully understand. What if I told you that your soul was born to shine? Not in a shallow or performative way, but in a way that cuts through darkness like a sword of light. If you carry the energy of Leo in your chart, whether it's your sun, your moon, or your rising sign, you weren't made to hide. You were made to radiate. To stand boldly in the center of the room, not because you need attention, but because you hold the kind of fire that awakens something in others. That kind of fire is sacred. It's not for everyone, and that's precisely why you are protected. Leos are not guarded because they are fragile. They are guarded because they are vital. They carry an energy that changes the temperature of any space they walk into. Even if they say nothing, their presence speaks. Even if they don't try, their light catches the eyes and hearts of those around them. But this light isn't random. It is coded with intention. Leo energy was designed to lead, not through domination, but through embodiment. Not by force, but by example. Their mission is to show others what it looks like to live with courage, to live out loud, to live as though life itself is worth celebrating, even when it's hard. That kind of presence is not without its risks. A Leo's light attracts, but it also draws the shadows. The more brightly they shine, the more susceptible they become to energetic interference, jealousy, projection, emotional leeches, spiritual attacks. These things come not because they've done something wrong, but because they stand out. And when you stand out, when you vibrate at a frequency that uplifts others, there are always forces that seek to dim you. That's why the protection around Leo energy is so intentional. It isn't there to isolate them from the world, it's there to preserve their flame. Because that flame isn't just about self-expression, it's about collective transformation. Leos often underestimate the weight they carry. To the outside world, they appear confident, expressive, radiant. But what most don't see is the emotional armor they've had to build. The silent moments of self-doubt that hide behind their strength. The deep desire to be loved for who they are, not just for what they give. A Leo's heart is enormous. It beats for those they love with ferocity. They protect others instinctively, defend the underdog, stand tall for their beliefs even when their voice shakes, and in return, the universe assigns guardians to them, beings who ensure that Leo's own light is not devoured by the very people they strive to uplift. These guardians work most powerfully in sleep, because it is in sleep that Leos return to themselves. The day demands performance, movement, interaction, but the night strips away the layers and lets the core shine through. In the quiet of dreams, the Leo soul is refueled. They are reminded of who they really are beneath the roles, the responsibilities, the masks. Their guardians speak in symbols: a lion resting under stars, a sun rising over a battlefield, a crown floating just above their head. These aren't random dreams, they're reminders, messages encoded in the subconscious to keep the Leo aligned with their mission. Sometimes a Leo will wake up feeling inexplicably strong, like something ancient within them just took a breath. They may not remember the dream, but they remember the feeling, a surge of clarity, a sense of direction, a knowing that cannot be logically explained. Other times, they'll wake up with an overwhelming desire to create something, to speak, to build, to perform, to write, to share. That is their fire, freshly stoked. Their guardians ensure that it never goes out, that no matter what happens during the day, Leo's inner spark is reignited while they sleep. Leos may also feel exhaustion upon waking, not just physical tiredness, but a soul-level fatigue. That's because, during the night, their spirit is often doing more than resting. It's working, leading, healing, uplifting others in the astral realm the same way they do in the physical. Their sleep is not always peaceful, because their mission is active, even in rest. And for that reason, protection is essential. Not only from external energy, but from spiritual burnout. Their guardians surround them in the dream state, creating energetic buffers that absorb the impact of what Leo encounters, while their spirit is in motion. There are times when Leos feel like they're failing, like their light isn't enough, like their efforts are unseen or unappreciated, and in those moments, the weight of their mission can feel unbearable. But here's what they don't always see. Their existence alone is a beacon. Their ability to smile after heartbreak, to get up after defeat, to speak truth when it would be easier to stay quiet. These things ripple into the energy field of those around them in ways that words never could. Their guardians see it, they keep record of it, and when Leo forgets their worth, those guardians send reminders. That reminder might come as a sudden opportunity, as a phrase in a dream that lights something up inside, as a stranger's compliment that speaks directly to an old wound. These are not coincidences. They are calibrations, little nudges to remind Leo of who they are and what they're here for. Because when a Leo forgets, the whole frequency around them begins to dim. They are not just leaders of people, they are keepers of morale, of hope, of joy. And when the world is dark, their light becomes even more important. The reason Leo energy is so highly protected is because of what it unlocks in others. Their courage gives permission, their self-expression creates space, their authenticity shatters illusions. They hold the keys to doors others are too afraid to open. And their mission isn't just about standing in the spotlight. It's about holding it steady so that others can find their way. That is no small task. It's why their path is rarely easy. And it's why their guardians are always nearby, adjusting the field, shielding the flame, reinforcing the foundation. If you are Leo, whether by sun, moon, rising, or strong placements, then know this: your protection isn't random. It's not because you're delicate, it's because you're dangerous to darkness. You are a frequency disruptor, a force of illumination, and that makes you a target, but also a treasure. So the next time you wake up with an idea burning in your chest, or a confidence you can't trace, trust that something ancient is moving through you. You were never meant to dim, you were never meant to hide, you were made to light the way. And the universe will make sure you can. There is something about you that doesn't flinch in the face of darkness. You don't just endure it, you understand it. If you're Scorpio, then you've likely known from an early age that the surface of life never satisfied you. Shallow conversations bore you. Fake smiles feel like lies. You're not here for the light show, you're here for the truth. And truth rarely lives in the light alone. It hides, it burrows, it shivers in the corners of unspoken wounds and forgotten memories. You move through those places with a strange kind of grace, part intensity, part intuition, part fearlessness. You are the shadow walker. In waking life, you're the one who senses what others pretend isn't there. In dreams, you become something else entirely. A silent guide, a protector of lost souls, a traveler through dimensions others would never dare explore. The realm of dreams is not always soft, it's not always pleasant, and for Scorpio, that's not a problem. Where others run from discomfort, you lean in. Where others seek escape, you seek understanding. This makes you incredibly powerful in the dream world, because the places that feel chaotic or frightening to others feel familiar to you. You understand pain, not just your own, but the collective grief that lingers in the spaces most people try to avoid. That's why your dreams can be intense, vivid, sometimes even unsettling. You're not floating through fantasies, you're working. You're diving into the emotional undercurrents of other people's energies, sometimes guiding them out of their own darkness, sometimes holding space for their transformation to begin. There's a particular depth in the way you dream. Your subconscious doesn't just reflect your thoughts, it opens portals. You may find yourself in underground settings, tunnels, caves, shadowed hallways. You may encounter figures in pain, spirits calling for help, scenes of emotional crisis. These aren't nightmares, they're missions. Your soul is often pulled into these scenarios not to be punished, but because you can handle them. More than that, you're needed in them. You carry a frequency that knows how to survive the descent and return with wisdom. That's what makes you different. While others avoid their shadows, you speak with yours. While others numb out, you lean in. And in the dream realm, that makes you a healer of a rare and powerful kind. You may not remember all your dreams, but when you do, there's often a residue that stays with you. A heaviness in the chest, a deep quiet in your bones, a strange clarity that emerges over the next day or two. That's the aftershock of your soul work. It's what happens when you've been in the presence of deep emotion or psychic transformation. Even if you can't recall the details, your spirit knows, your energy shifts, your intuition sharpens, your instincts grow louder. This is how your dream life integrates with your waking path. You're not separate from your dream self, you're a continuation of it. Sometimes in sleep, you become the protector, not just of your own energy, but of others who are lost, fragmented, or spiritually vulnerable. These are not roles you choose consciously, they are assignments written into your soul's contract. You may find yourself in dreams helping a child cross a dangerous street, or standing between someone and a dark presence. You might be in a war zone, or walking through a city that feels both ancient and futuristic, decoding messages, delivering guidance, or even confronting energies that feed on fear. The symbolism might not make sense to the logical mind, but your emotional body knows. You know when something was real, even if it happened in a space no one else saw. That's why spiritual protection surrounds you so fiercely at night, because you don't wander into easy territory. Your soul isn't roaming fields of light and peace every night. You're entering spaces that require discernment, courage, and spiritual clarity. And even though your energy is naturally fortified, wired to endure and adapt, you're still human, you still need shielding. The guardians assigned to you aren't there to coddle you. They're there to keep your frequency intact, while you do work that can drain even the strongest among us. You don't just dream, you confront, you witness, you transform. If you've ever had recurring dreams of water, deep oceans, dark rivers, flooded hallways, it's no accident. Water in dreams often mirrors emotion, intuition, and the subconscious. And for you, these waters are not just reflective surfaces, they are places you swim through to access buried truths. Sometimes the water is calm, sometimes it's stormy, but it's always alive. It speaks to you. You may also encounter symbols of death, not literal, but symbolic. Death of an identity, a structure, a belief. Scorpios are the midwives of endings and beginnings. You don't fear the cycle of death and rebirth, you embody it. So when you see a crumbling building, or someone walking away, or even yourself standing on the edge of a cliff in your dreams, pay attention. These are messages about release, about letting go, about transformation. There is also a high chance that you dream of serpents, black animals, or dark landscapes that feel oddly safe rather than threatening. This is your domain, not because it's dark, but because it's deep. You thrive in depth, you read energy the way others read text. You feel into rooms and relationships with an instinct that's often unnerving to those who prefer surface living. And in sleep, that ability magnifies. Your perception expands. You're able to see through spiritual disguises, pierce illusions, and call energies by their true names. That's why others sometimes come to you in dreams, even people you haven't seen in years, or strangers who seem to know you. They sense that your soul has something they need, a key, a mirror, a dose of truth wrapped in love. But this kind of dream work comes at a cost. It can be emotionally exhausting. It can leave you feeling distant, heavy, or overly sensitive in the hours after waking. That's not weakness, it's a natural side effect of being energetically active in layers most people never touch. You may need more quiet time than others. You may need solitude after intense dreams. This is part of your care. You are not just a dreamer, you are a walker between worlds. You move through layers of reality with grace, but that grace must be balanced with grounding. And the universe helps with that too. Your guardians don't just protect you from external energies, they help you recalibrate when you return. They guide you back into your body, help you integrate what you've seen, and ensure that your emotional field stays whole. So, if you are Scorpio, understand that your sleep is sacred. It is not a break from your mission, it is part of it. The things you see, feel, and do in dreams are not meaningless. They are echoes of your soul's deeper work. You are the shadow walker, the one who does not fear what others avoid. You are the one who helps others face their own hidden selves, even when they don't realize it. And because you carry this gift, you are never left to walk alone, not in daylight, not in dreams, not in the darkness you so bravely enter, again and again, for the sake of healing what others cannot face. What if I told you that your intensity isn't a flaw, it's a signal, that the depth of your emotion, the weight of your silence, the way you seem to feel everything even when no one says a word, none of it is accidental. If you carry the energy of Scorpio in your chart, then you already know that your life has never been surface level. You've been pulled into the deep end since the beginning, often before you were ready, often without understanding why. But here's the truth that's been hidden in plain sight. Your soul chose depth. Not to suffer, not to drown, but to transmute. And because of that, you are protected. Scorpios are not easy souls. They don't come here to skim the surface or play by the rules of emotional safety. They come here to feel it all. To travel into the hidden chambers of the human psyche. To touch grief, desire, rage, passion, shame, and transformation, up close. Their spiritual assignments are layered, karmic, and often ancestral. They carry echoes of what their family line has buried. They feel the unspoken stories, the generational trauma, the patterns that loop silently through bloodlines. It is Scorpio's nature to dig, to unveil, to expose what festers in the dark. But that excavation doesn't come without risk. That's why spiritual guardians surround them, because Scorpio souls walk in places others fear to go, and that kind of depth requires armor. You may not see it, but you've likely felt it. a tension that never fully leaves you, a pull toward the taboo, the hidden, the mysterious. You've likely experienced emotional exhaustion that doesn't make logical sense, sleep that leaves you more tired than rested, dreams that feel ancient, symbolic, and saturated with emotion you can't explain. This is because your soul travels deeply when your body sleeps. While others float in light dreams, you descend. You wander through places laced with symbolism and archetype. You sit in the temples of memory. You revisit past lives not as fantasy, but as curriculum. You are learning, healing, completing. That level of spiritual activity can be overwhelming. Without protection, it can even become dangerous. Not in the Hollywood sense, not with flashing lights or demonic shadows, but in the quiet way your energy gets drained, in the way your spirit begins to fragment from overexposure. That's why your guardians are always close. They don't prevent your descent, they fortify it. They act as spiritual shields while you move through realms thick with old wounds. They guard your return. Because you, Scorpio, don't just visit these places, you bring back power. And that power, when integrated, becomes medicine not just for you, but for those around you. There's a reason people come to you with their secrets, a reason strangers feel safe telling you their pain. You hold the frequency of transformation, and people sense it, whether they understand it or not. But that energy, your ability to transmute pain into truth, doesn't come without a cost. You often feel heavy for no clear reason. You may cry without knowing why, get angry without a trigger, wake up with your chest tight, your mind spinning, your heart full of feelings that don't belong to the present moment. That's because your dream world is often a battlefield and a classroom all at once. You are not simply resting at night, you are working. In dreams, Scorpios receive symbols more than scenes. They may dream of water, murky, deep, or raging, of snakes, coiled or shedding skin, of doors half open or eyes watching from shadows. These symbols are messages, not from something outside of you, but from the deeper self within you, the part of you that speaks in image and metaphor. Your soul is always trying to reveal what your waking mind isn't ready to face. But even in that sacred revealing, protection is required, because when you dream, you are vulnerable, you are raw, and guardians are the ones who ensure that the lessons don't leave scars. These guardians are not generic protectors, they are tailored to you. They understand the intensity of your path. Some are ancestors who walked through pain in silence and now walk with you in healing. Others are energetic guides, aligned with the underworld, the realm of endings, rebirth, and truth. They don't shield you from discomfort, because discomfort is how you grow. But they do hold your energy close when you're at risk of losing yourself in the depths. They help you return to the surface when you've gone too far. They remind you that you are not your wounds. You are the one who transforms them. Scorpio energy is about death and rebirth. Not literal death, but the death of ego, illusions, attachments, and masks. Every few years, your life reinvents itself. You are forced to let go of what no longer fits, people, roles, identities. And with every ending, a new version of you is born. But these cycles can be violent in their emotional toll. That's why you feel exhausted even when you've done nothing physical. Your soul is constantly renovating itself, and your guardians stand watch over every demolition and rebuild. There are moments in sleep when Scorpios don't dream at all, or at least, they don't remember. These moments aren't empty, they are recovery. Your guardians know when your spirit needs to rest without processing, when it needs to be held in stillness. Other times, your dreams come like a flood. Visions too vivid to ignore. Messages that seem to come from another time. You may even dream of places you've never been, yet feel deeply connected to. Temples, ruins, desert landscapes, oceans with no shores. These are not random, they are memories. Not always personal, but collective. Scorpio is a psychic sponge, pulling in frequencies from past and future timelines. And guardians are what keep you from being overwhelmed by them. You were never meant to live an ordinary life. That's why your path has been intense. That's why your emotions are layered. That's why your dreams feel like portals instead of entertainment. You are here to evolve at a soul level. And evolution, for you, is not linear, it's spiral. You revisit the same themes over and over, each time at a deeper level. The betrayal, the abandonment, the power struggles. But every time you return, you're stronger, more aware, more whole, and your guardians celebrate every layer you reclaim. You may feel isolated on this journey, misunderstood, too intense for casual connections, but that solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. Scorpio souls often walk alone because few can match their depth, but your guardians are never far. Even when you feel disconnected, they are working, shielding your sleep, recalibrating your field, whispering clarity into your subconscious so that you wake up with just enough strength to continue. The next time you find yourself crying in your sleep or waking up with your heart racing, remember, you are not broken, you are in process. Your soul is doing sacred work, and the beings that guard you are not doing so because you are fragile, they are doing so because you are powerful, because you are one of the rare ones who doesn't run from the dark, but walks into it with the quiet courage of someone who remembers the light within. So trust your dreams, trust your cycles, trust your depth. You were made for it, and you are not walking it alone. There is a softness in you that isn't weakness. It's something far older and wiser than this world can fully comprehend. If you're Pisces, you've likely spent your whole life feeling like you exist between two realms, one foot on earth, the other drifting through invisible oceans of feeling and knowing. The veil between you and the spiritual world is so thin, it often dissolves without effort. You don't just dream when you sleep, you merge. Your consciousness stretches outward, upward, inward, touching truths that others only glimpse through meditation or silence. And even then, you go farther. Yours is the soul of the divine dreamer, and when your eyes close at night, the universe opens up to you like a living canvas. Not because you ask it to, but because it recognizes you as one of its native children, someone born not just into this world, but through it. In waking life, your energy is already water-like, sensitive, fluid, receptive. You absorb vibrations from people, spaces, even memories. But in dreams, this quality intensifies. You become a traveler across realms, not bound by time or physics. You might dream of swimming through stars, of walking barefoot across oceans made of light, of hearing songs that move through your body like they were written in your bones long before this life began. These experiences are not abstract for you, they are you. When others wake from such dreams and try to forget them, you carry them with you like secret maps. Your dreams don't fade like vapor, they echo through your day, shaping your mood, your creativity, your emotional rhythm. Sometimes they feel more real than anything that happens in the daylight. Pisces does not dream the way others do. Your soul uses sleep as a doorway, not a destination. It's how you return to the divine source, the place you never fully left. That's why, in dreams, you may find yourself in temples that feel like home, surrounded by beings that radiate love beyond language. You may see angels, not metaphorical ones, but actual presences that speak to your soul with tones of light. You may hear music that doesn't come from an instrument, but from everything around you, the sound of vibration, harmony, cosmic alignment. This music has no lyrics, yet it answers questions you didn't know you were asking. It's not entertainment, it's activation. There are moments when your dreams bleed into waking life, when you look at someone and know what they're feeling before they speak, when you sense events before they unfold, when you remember something that never happened here but lives inside you like a memory. That's the dream realm speaking. For Pisces, the border between sleeping and waking is not a wall, it's a mist, and you walk through it every night with ease, sometimes not even realizing you've crossed over. This gives you access to a level of guidance and intuitive depth that most people don't know how to process. But it also makes you more susceptible, because when you open that wide, you're not just receiving from the divine, you're receiving everything: energy, emotion, even residue from people's unspoken pain. That's why spiritual protection is not optional for you, it's essential. You may have dreams where you're floating, where gravity doesn't exist, where time bends or disappears entirely. These aren't just surreal scenes, they're reflections of your soul's natural state. You were never meant to live in a linear, rigid reality. You are here to remind others that there is something beyond what we can see, that the spiritual is not separate from the physical, it's woven into it. And your dreams reflect that beautifully. Water is a recurring theme for you, not just literal water, but the essence of it. Flow, emotion, intuition, cleansing, surrender. You may dream of rain that feels like healing, of rivers that carry you somewhere unknown yet safe, of oceans that speak in symbols and tides that respond to your thoughts. These waters are not here to test you. They're here to carry you deeper into yourself. Pisces souls often receive messages during sleep. Sometimes it comes through a single sentence, whispered by a glowing figure. Other times, it arrives as an overwhelming feeling, peace, sorrow, urgency. And even though the dream may be strange or fragmented, the emotion stays with you. It teaches you something. It stirs something inside you that you can't unfeel. That's how you know it wasn't just a dream, it was a visitation, it was contact. The divine doesn't always send clear instructions. Sometimes it sends impressions, tones, rhythms, images that unlock inner knowing. You, more than any other sign, understand this language. You don't need to analyze every detail, your soul just knows. You may also find yourself helping others in dreams, calming a stranger, guiding a friend through a confusing path, or even absorbing pain from someone in silence. You don't always recognize the people you help. Sometimes they aren't even from this lifetime. But your soul does the work anyway. You are the empath in the astral, the quiet healer who mends fractures others don't even see. And this can be draining. That's why you often wake up emotionally raw, on the verge of tears, without knowing why, or feeling heavy with a sadness that doesn't belong to anything in your waking life. It's not because you're too sensitive. It's because you've been immersed in frequencies most people never touch. That's why your guardians surround you with care, not just in waking hours but especially in sleep. They do not treat you like glass. They treat you like light that must be shielded from distortion. It's easy for you to get lost in these dreamscapes, to forget where one world ends and another begins. That's part of your magic, but also part of your vulnerability. You're like a spiritual sponge, soaking up everything: beauty, suffering, wisdom, noise. If your energy field isn't protected, you can wake up feeling disconnected from yourself, like you're still half in the dream, and sometimes you are. That's why grounding is so important for you after sleep. Your soul travels far and wide at night. It needs time to re-enter this body, this reality, this moment. Yet through it all, your dreams remain a treasure chest of spiritual guidance. You may see symbols repeatedly: keys, gates, stairs, stars. You may hear a name or a phrase that makes no sense now but will reveal its meaning in the weeks ahead. You may awaken with melodies in your mind, colors still shimmering behind your eyelids, a sensation of having been touched by something holy. Don't dismiss these moments. They are sacred. They are real in ways this world has forgotten how to measure. If you are Pisces, understand this truth. Your dreams are not an escape. They are a return to where your soul remembers what it really is: limitless, eternal, woven from divine intention. You are the dreamer who doesn't just visit other realms. You belong to them. You carry that energy back with you into the waking world, and it moves through your art, your words, your silence, your presence. It reminds others, without even trying, that something greater is always near. And because your soul is so porous, so open, so luminous, you are fiercely protected. Not out of pity, but out of reverence. Because what moves through you touches more than just your own life. It touches the collective. It ripples outward in ways you may never fully understand. So dream, Pisces. Drift, float, return, and know that in every realm you cross, you are watched over, guided, and deeply loved. What if I told you that your softness is not your weakness, it's your calling, that your sensitivity, your empathy, your ability to feel what others can't or won't, that isn't something to suppress or hide. It's something the universe has been protecting all along. If you carry the energy of Pisces in your chart, sun, moon, rising, or even dominant planetary influences, you are here with a mission that few fully understand. You were born to embody compassion, to carry healing energy through your presence alone, to awaken others not through force, but through feeling. That kind of mission requires guardianship, not because you are fragile, but because you are sacred. Pisces souls are not like others. They come in with one foot in this world and one foot somewhere else entirely. Their eyes often seem to be looking at something beyond the veil. Their hearts are tuned into frequencies that most people are too busy or too armored to hear. This sensitivity doesn't make them weak, it makes them vital, but it also leaves them vulnerable. When you feel everything, you are exposed to everything, not just joy and beauty, but pain, disappointment, betrayal, collective sorrow. Pisces absorb it all. They carry the vibrations of others, often without knowing they're doing it. And if left unguarded, their emotional body becomes overburdened, foggy, even fragmented. That's why spiritual protection surrounds them like an invisible cocoon, because what they carry must be preserved. From the moment they arrive, Pisces are dreamers. As children, they drift between worlds. They talk to invisible friends. They daydream endlessly. They see patterns and signs others overlook. And as they grow, they begin to feel the world more deeply. When others move on quickly, Pisces lingers. When others numb out, Pisces tunes in. Their emotional landscape is vast, an ocean, not a river. And their guardians are the lifeboats, the lighthouses, the quiet currents that keep them from being pulled under. These guardians don't always intervene in obvious ways. Sometimes their presence is subtle, a sudden feeling of peace when overwhelm begins to creep in, a dream that arrives just in time to answer a silent question, a sense of being wrapped in comfort even when the world feels cold. Pisces often experience their guardians as sensations, chills without cause, soft touches on the skin, emotional waves that feel too loving to come from within. These are not imagined, they are reminders. Confirmation that Pisces is never navigating this reality alone. The mission of Pisces is not just to feel, but to transform that feeling into healing. They are the intuitive nurses, the mystic poets, the spiritual counselors, the quiet ones whose presence alone shifts the energy of a room. Their work is often invisible, holding space, listening without judgment, softening the edges of harsh energy. And because they are so tuned in, their sleep becomes more than rest. It becomes revelation. Pisces' dreams are not idle flickers of memory. They are portals, messages, prophecies. Sometimes they are so vivid and emotionally charged that Pisces wake up crying, or laughing, or needing to be alone to integrate what just moved through them. These dreams carry weight. They are not random. They are downloads, spiritual briefings delivered in the only language the soul truly understands: symbols, emotion, vibration. In dreams, Pisces returns to their essence. The boundaries of the ego fall away, the noise of the world is quieted, and in that stillness, their spirit travels. They may visit other timelines, meet with souls they haven't seen in decades or lifetimes, receive insight about things that haven't yet happened in the physical. Some Pisces don't even fully sleep. Their body rests, but their soul is wide awake elsewhere, gathering healing codes, visiting those in need, receiving guidance about the days ahead. These nighttime missions are real, and they can be exhausting. That's why protection is vital. Their guardians create a buffer around their sleep, filtering the energies that approach, ensuring Pisces returns whole. Sometimes, Pisces wakes up with knowledge they didn't fall asleep with, an idea, a feeling, a creative impulse, or even a warning. This is one of the most direct ways their guardians communicate. Pisces don't need rigid logic. They need resonance, and when something resonates, they just know. That just knowing is often the result of an entire spiritual transmission that occurred while their physical body rested. Their guides speak through intuition, through sensation, through color and image and music. The guidance is always gentle but precise, always loving but clear. Yet for all their connection to higher realms, Pisces still lives in a physical world. A world that often doesn't value softness, that demands clarity and control over mystery and emotion, that labels sensitivity as weakness, and that's where their pain begins. They often feel like they don't belong here, like they were meant for some other place where love is the default language, where energy is acknowledged, where pain is not hidden, and because of that disconnect, Pisces may try to numb themselves, to escape, through addiction, avoidance, fantasy. This is not because they are lazy or irresponsible, it's because they feel too much. Their guardians do not judge them for this. Instead, they step closer. They guide Pisces back to themselves. Not through shame, but through remembrance, through dream visions, through sudden insights, through people who mirror their worth. The guardians work behind the scenes to protect their light when it flickers, to restore their trust when it's broken, to remind them that they are not crazy, but gifted. That they were not made for hardness, but for healing, and that the very thing that makes them vulnerable, their boundless heart, is also what makes them divine. Pisces are often drawn to water, to music, to poetry, to anything that dissolves the boundaries between self and universe. They long to merge with something greater, to feel at one with the divine, and in dreams, they often do. They may see colors that don't exist here, feel emotions that have no name, remember lives they never lived in this form. All of it is real. Their soul is vast, and their guardians are the anchors that keep them from drifting too far. Even in waking life, Pisces may feel the presence of their protectors when they least expect it. A song that comes on at the exact moment they need to hear it. A feather on the ground after a hard conversation. A stranger's words that echo something they dreamt the night before. These are not accidents. These are threads of a larger tapestry. Pisces are dream weavers, energetic translators, spiritual messengers. And they are protected not because they are helpless, but because they are channels. And channels must remain clear. The world needs Pisces, especially now. Because in a time of disconnection, they remember union. In a time of cynicism, they carry faith. In a time of chaos, they bring peace, not by force, but by frequency. And their guardians will do everything in their power to keep that frequency intact, to shield it from distortion, to preserve it so that Pisces can do what they came here to do, to love without condition, to heal without ego, to awaken others through the quiet power of presence. So if you are Pisces, know this: your dreams are real, your feelings are valid, your intuition is your compass, and your guardians are never far. They walk with you through every emotion, every sleep cycle, every moment of doubt, because your mission is not easy, but it is essential, and you were never meant to carry it alone. Have you ever wondered why some nights feel different? Why the air around you thickens just before you drift into sleep? Have you noticed those moments when your dreams seem too detailed, too alive, too emotionally charged to be random? Maybe you've felt someone watching over you, not with eyes, but with presence, a stillness that speaks to your soul, a warmth that arrives when no one else is in the room. You may have chalked it up to imagination, brushed it aside as coincidence, or assumed it was just your mind playing tricks. But deep down, some part of you knew something more was happening, something sacred, something unseen but never absent. You don't need to remember every dream in full color to know they meant something. You don't need to see angels with wings or hear divine voices in clear sentences to know that you were not alone in that space. It's not about grand visions or dramatic revelations, it's about the subtle moments, the feeling that someone gently pulled you back from a nightmare just before it turned. The sudden, inexplicable peace that settled over you after a chaotic day. The close call in waking life that you avoided without knowing why, as if something, or someone, shifted your path without asking. These are not accidents, these are signatures. You are being watched, protected, and guided, even if you've never been told in words. Maybe you've had dreams where you were helping others, guiding them through places you didn't recognize but somehow felt deeply familiar. Maybe you've found yourself walking through symbols that made no logical sense, yet the feeling they gave you lingered for days. Maybe you've awoken with tears on your cheeks, or laughter in your chest, or a sudden download of wisdom you didn't have the night before. These are not just dreams, they are transmissions, messages, initiations, and more often than not, they are proof that you have been entrusted with something powerful, something sacred, something worth protecting. If you've ever woken up more tired than when you fell asleep, as though you've spent the night working, teaching, healing, or traveling, then your soul is active. If you've ever felt chills before sleep, visited by a presence you couldn't see but could undeniably feel, then your energy is already being watched. If your life has been punctuated by strange synchronicities, symbols that repeat, or emotions that surge from seemingly nowhere, then you're part of something greater than yourself. These are not empty moments. They are spiritual markers. They are signs that you don't simply live this life on your own. You are surrounded, you are known, and you are not walking this journey without assistance. Some souls come here with a calling so deep that even they forget its shape until the right moment. But the soul remembers. It remembers what it came to do, even when the mind is distracted. It remembers its agreements, its vows, its divine purpose, even when the body is tired, even when the heart is heavy. And when a soul is here for more than just survival, when it's here for healing, for awakening, for transformation, it doesn't go unguarded. The universe does not assign sacred missions and then abandon those who carry them. It weaves a net of protection around them, sometimes quiet, sometimes fierce, always intentional. You may have felt like no one sees what you're really carrying. You may have moved through life holding space for others, showing strength while feeling unseen. But just because others can't always see the weight you bear doesn't mean higher forces don't. They've seen you at your most open. They've seen you hold light in the middle of your own darkness. They've seen you get up after breaking, give after being emptied, trust when logic told you not to, and for that, they do not leave you exposed. They cover you, especially in the hours when your soul leaves your body and continues its work across unseen planes, especially in the moments when you are most open, most real, most vulnerable. Maybe you've never truly slept alone. Maybe every night, while your body rests, your soul lifts into the dream realms, wrapped in protection, surrounded by guardians who walk just behind the veil. Maybe those sudden wake-ups in the middle of the night were not random interruptions, but shifts in energy, changes in spiritual activity that your intuition caught before your mind could explain. Maybe the warmth on your shoulder, the whisper of a name, the recurring dream of a hallway, or a temple, or a mountain, all of it, has been part of a larger story you're only beginning to remember. This isn't about superstition. This is about resonance. If what you've read here strikes something inside you, it's not because you're being entertained, it's because you're being reminded. You already know. You've always known. It's just that this world is loud, and sometimes we forget to trust what we feel more than what we see. But now that you're remembering, now that you're starting to piece together the patterns, it's time to trust that knowing again. You were not given your sensitivity, your dreams, your intuition, or your strange connection to the unseen by accident. They are part of your map, and that map has been walked by many before you, watched over by forces who recognize the light you carry, even when you doubt it yourself. There is something unshakable about the kind of love that watches you while you sleep, a love that doesn't demand, doesn't punish, doesn't control, but simply is. Present, quiet, powerful. Your guardians don't need recognition. They don't need worship. They exist to assist your soul in fulfilling what it came here to do. And every night, when you surrender your body to rest, they meet you. They travel with you. They shield the parts of you you don't even realize are exposed. They intervene when needed. They teach when you're ready. They watch when you simply need to be held. So, ask yourself, have you ever felt them? In the way your breath deepens unexpectedly, in the dreams that leave you with messages you didn't expect, in the near misses and mysterious comforts, in the way you always seem to survive what should have broken you. This is not coincidence. This is divine design. You are among the watched, not because you are weak, but because you are valuable, because your soul holds codes, insights, vibrations that are necessary for this world, because you are part of a greater awakening that is happening across dimensions, and the universe is not careless with those it entrusts. It guards them. It guards you. So tonight, when you close your eyes, remember, you are not alone. You never were. And as your body drifts into stillness and your soul steps forward to do what it has always done, guide, love, remember, know that you do so surrounded by light, covered in silence, protected by forces older than time. Because when your mission is sacred, the universe never leaves you unguarded.